my editor of Horse Girl actually found me in a canoe of all places. So I was visiting a mutual friend who had built this amazing wooden canoe. He's actually also an author, Trent Pressler. But he had built this amazing canoe, and he invited a few friends to take it out for a spin, for a little paddle on the Long Island Sound. And his other friend, Carl, came. And I'd never met Carl before, but it turned out that Carl was a children's book editor for Penguin Random House. And he found out that I had written for Nickelodeon and was in the Groundlings. And he said, "Oh my gosh, I need a funny story for girls. Do you think you want to write a book?" And I was sort of like, I don't know, I haven't even thought about that. But yes, right? Who's going to say no to that? This is like, who meets their editor in a canoe? This is kismet. This is destiny. And Carl and I ended
up. Had you thought about, sorry to kill the moment, had you thought about writing a book prior to this? Or was it just that moment in the canoe, now is the time?
I mean, I had thought about it in terms of more of a funny dating essay book a while back. I hadn't considered a lot of fiction per se, and especially not for kids or for middle grade. I wasn't. But then, I had been writing for kids for TV, so it suddenly was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I really relate. Like, I feel like I'm still an awkward tween, in many ways. I can really tap that side of myself. So, and then, yeah, and Carl is from Oklahoma, and I'm from Nebraska, and we started talking about horses, and then it was just like, Horse Girl, this is going to be it. And I had no idea what the story was going to be, but I knew we were going to do a horse girl book.
That must have been some kind of wild canoe ride.
It was. I mean, beware invitations to wooden canoes.
So there is just a whole lot to unpack there, because your resume is tremendous, and I want to talk a little bit about everything. But I suppose we should start with Horse Girl, so there's no doubt in our minds that we definitely talked about Horse Girl, which I enjoyed very much. I promised I never summarize other people's books. So if you would give us kind of just the overview, what do we need to know about Horse Girl to understand, to add it to our digital cart right now and make sure we're securing that purchase while we're listening?
Absolutely. So I like to describe Horse Girl as Black Beauty meets Mean Girls. And like any real horse girl, the book is funny and awkward, and it has a lot of heart. It tells the story of a 7th grader named Willa, who goes by Wills, and she is absolutely horse crazy, and she's sort of misunderstood, and she's a bit of an outsider, and she really struggles with making friends of the human variety, which I think is something that we can all relate to at some point in our life, that it's hard to make friends and feel like you fit in. And Willa's really searching for her forever herd, is what we call it in the book, that place that she fits in. And her mom is in the Air Force, so they move around a lot, and the family ends up moving to Omaha, and her parents finally agree to let her take horseback riding lessons for the first time. So this is the first time she's actually going to be around real horses. She's absolutely thrilled, like best day of her life. But when she gets to the stable, the first person she encounters is a girl named Amara, who is the self-appointed queen of the horse girls, and she is less than welcoming. She's a bit of a mean girl. And Willa gets paired with this elderly rescue horse named Clyde Lee, who is a Clydesdale thoroughbred, gentle giant who she just loves because she feels too big for her body, and this horse is a really big horse, and they just seem to match. But he has no interest in doing anything Willow asks of him. He's sort of over jumping, and like he maybe he'll stop, maybe he won't. So on one of her first days of lessons, he kind of goes rogue and stops short of a jump, and she ends up tumbling off and falling and embarrassing herself, and her dad's making awkward dad jokes in the stands, and hijinks kind of ensue from there.
I love the description of the Clydesdale as having medium pizza-sized hoofs. That might be one of the most vivid descriptions I've ever read. Like, yes, I can see that perfectly.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to get an idea of just how, the size, the perspective of a Clydesdale. And so a medium pizza hoof is like, that's serious business. And Willa,
like stomp by and you see a little glass of water with rings in it, I'm sure, every time that Clydesdale comes near.
Yeah, and Willa is she often uses snacks as her metaphors. She's really snack motivated, as are the horses.
Are you snack motivated, or
yes.
was that specific for the character?
Yes, it's the only way I like write a paragraph is if I know there's a snack at the end of it.
We're definitely going to talk more about that. I am fascinated by motivations for writing. A paragraph per snack. There's a lot of paragraphs in this book. They couldn't have all ended with snacks.
No, but as many as possible. But yeah, the story is really about facing a girl facing obstacles, whether they're the literal, horse jumps or the metaphoric obstacles of fear and change and life changing, and trying to stay true to herself during that tipping point of life when it's suddenly like not so cool to be passionate or interested in anything. In fact, it's cool to be not interested. And Willa, as a horse girl, is unapologetically like passionate about horses, and she doesn't want to give up that part of herself.
So, who is the ideal reader for this story?
So the ideal reader are tweens who love horses, but actually anyone who loves horses of any age, and anyone who's interested in a good friendship story, which is one of my favorite parts about middle grade, is that we rarely get good friendship stories in mainstream culture. There's often so much romantic love or violence, and just focused on this platonic friendship story, I really treasure. But horse girl books are, they're part of our long literary canon. And so I think kids will enjoy it in the sort of maybe 8 to 13, 14 range, but also nostalgic adults and, parents and teachers hopefully will enjoy it too, because it's a real touchstone for and really inspired by many of the classic horse books like Black Beauty and Misty of Chincoteague and King of the Wind. It's just that I sort of wanted to add a humor to balance out the earnestness of those books and sort of a modern voice and modern complications.
So were you a horse girl as back in Nebraska? Did you ride horses?
Well, I was definitely a horse girl. I was definitely horse crazy. My sister Lindsay and I were obsessed with horses. But we did not, and this is an important distinction for horse girls, is that you do not have to own a horse or ride a horse or even have ever seen a horse to be a horse girl. It is a strong interior, like vivid life. Maybe you're like awkward on the outside, but in your interior life is just banging. It's killing it, right? So we didn't have any horses, but we read all of the books that I just mentioned. My sister had Breyer horses. She collected them. Here, I have a little visual aid. These like model horses. This is one of her actual ones that we dug out of the attic. And it's show and tell. Okay, so and we would watch the Olympic equestrian events that when they came on like every 4 years, and we would like furiously tape them on VHS and then play that VHS tape like over and over and over so we could watch them. We created we took broomsticks and laundry baskets and created jumping courses in our backyard for the dog. We were totally obsessed. And our big mission was to convince our parents to let us go to horse camp one summer. And we did like a charts and presentations about why this would be good for us. And our parents finally relented. They let us go to horse camp, which was not fancy at all. It was just like this YMCA camp in Nebraska. that had 1 hour a day of horses. That was it. The best we were going to get.
Well, then they have a nice pool, some kickball, something else between the horse ball.
Exactly. Like it was like, all right, we'll throw your kids a bone, like 1 hour a day. And this is where I discovered my tragic allergy to horses.
Oh no.
So it turned out this was pre-Claritin. I didn't have access to Benadryl, and I just was like a machine gun of sneezes, like, and the poor horses, like, sneezing, and my eyes are watering. And so after camp, my sister got to continue taking horseback riding lessons. I got plopped into piano lessons. But I would go and watch my sister during her lessons, and I would do my homework in the stands. And so, you know, a lot of this book is an homage to her, and a lot of the stories, so the horse tagonist in the book is based on a real horse that she would ride at the stable named Clyde Lee. And the stories a lot are things that actually happened to her that she remembers or that I remember watching. And she was very generous about sharing a lot of details and memories. So it's a very personal story to our family. And if you read the book, there's a big sister character who isn't always the nicest, and she's modeled, like, I made myself the villain. Because she does lessons, and she likes, you know, she's allergic to horses, and, you know, an antithesis of a horse girl. So
trying to find a passage here quickly because that immediately sparked my memory, and of course I can't find it because I'm looking at an electronic book instead of a paperback.
Oh, you know what?
Here we go.
Oh, you got it.
The only thing Kay and I agree on is breakfast for dinner. She likes geology and geometry and school and homework and trivia and deadlines and show choir and the mythology of Norse gods and irrational numbers and Spanish verbs and snowflake fractals. I like horses. I love that passage. I love that stinger there at the end. I like horses. This is the sharp contrast. So is that you? You're Kay? You like geometry and school and Norse gods?
Yes, I mean, that was me, and I'm really poking fun at myself, but yeah, I was really the nerd. You know, I was on Quiz Bowl and academic decathlon and, you know, piano and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I embraced that side of myself. And then I remember my sister was just singularly at that time focused on horses. And how empowering is that to say, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm not sorry for it, and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to hang out with these really powerful, strong creatures and literally elevate myself. I think it's like horse girl energy is a really good, it's like a good recipe for being an adult success, right? Taking control, taking charge, and doing what's important to you, no matter what other people think.